Did you watch the men's singles finals at Wimbledon at the weekend? I did. I'm not a huge tennis fan, I'm not a huge sports fan, but this was gripping TV. There was Novak Djokovic playing Roger Federer. Now these are the two best players in the world at the moment. They were absolutely top of their game. So it was exciting stuff, it was great TV. It was also a great opportunity for practicing my observational skills. Now, if you're working with other people in the role as a coach or a mentor, it's easy to see why you need to have finely developed observational skills. But it's true when we're working with ourselves as well. Have you ever heard anybody who says something like, I'm a really positive person, and then a couple of minutes later they say, this is never going to work? It's almost like there's a disconnect between what's coming in through their ears and what's going on inside their head. So being able to differentiate between what's actually happening and the stories that we're telling ourselves is absolutely critical. I started off by paying attention to what was the setup routine for both players just before they served. And for Djokovic, he was very consistent that he bounced the ball and hit it onto the floor with his racket and then caught it again. He did that 5 times, and just before he hit it the 5th time, he spun his racket round. And then he'd just bounce the ball and catch it somewhere between 4 and 10 times, and then he'd serve. And he was very consistent with that. It was slightly different what Roger Federer was doing. Now, what are they actually doing here? It's probably fairly easy to see that they're getting themselves into the zone. Now, if you think back to the video that I made called Bottling a Feeling, we could talk about in terms of anchors, and that'd be the NLP way to talk about it. But what they're really doing is they have a setup routine that's consistent, that gets them into the zone and starts shutting out all distractions around them. Then I noticed something interesting. There was one time when Djokovic only bounced the ball twice instead of 5, and he lost the point. And what does that tell us? And by the way, that's a trick question, because it only tells us 2 things. It only tells us that he bounced the ball twice instead of 5 and that he lost the point. Anything else is what we make up. It's a story that we tell ourselves. And as you know, when we make up stories, we tend to believe them. What we can do is we can come up with a theory. The difference is a story is something that we say and we believe it. A theory is when we say, I wonder if this could be what's happening. And then we look for evidence that either backs it up or disproves it. I came up with a theory that perhaps this was happening when he was a little bit frustrated. Perhaps he got frustrated, only bounced the ball twice, and then he lost the point. And from what I could see, this seemed to correlate. It seemed a strong possibility. Now, by the way, I only saw him do this 7 or 8 times throughout the whole match. But what I did observe was that in each case, he lost the point before it, and something else seemed to happen as well. On one example, he physically fell over. Another, he gestured up to his manager in a gesture that could have been interpreted as frustration. And in another one, he thought he'd won a point. It went against him, he appealed, and the appeal was turned down as well. So it is quite possible that he was frustrated. Although it is only a theory, it's not anything that we can fully verify. What we don't know is, does bouncing the ball twice cause him to lose the point? Is it an indicator that he's about to lose the point? Or it could be none of those things, because they're not verifiable. The only thing that we know is that he bounced the ball twice and lost the point. After a very hard-won battle, Djokovic won the match and the tournament. So what is this video about? On the surface, it could easily be about getting frustrated at a key moment, could have cost him key points and could have cost him the tournament. And yeah, that's absolutely true, but it's not what this is about. Sports professionals of this level know about state management probably way better than you or I do. They've got teams of sports psychologists who are working on this with them daily. You probably know who Tony Robbins is. You've probably also heard of Andre Agassi, who was a tennis player too. Now, years ago, Andre Agassi was #1 tennis player in the world, and he slipped to number 50 in the rankings. He worked with lots of tennis coaches and nobody seemed to be able to get him back up the rankings. He worked with Tony Robbins for a year, and after that he went back to being #1. And Tony Robbins says, during that time together, we never talked about tennis. The only thing that we ever did was work on his ability to manage his emotional state. It is massively important. For these players, it's not about money. Both players on that court on Sunday have earned in excess of £100 million on the court, and they've earned a lot more off the court. It's about something much bigger than that. And losing control of their state just a little bit, if that's indeed what happened, it shows that they're human. When we're under that sort of pressure, it's natural to be affected by it in some way. We'd be robots if we didn't. Most people fall apart long before they ever get to the final. Here's what this video is really about. This is what sets these two players apart from most of the competition. It's not the fact that they don't ever get flustered or frustrated. It's not the fact that they're never affected by what's going on around them. What sets them apart is their ability to regain their state quickly when something has happened. I saw Djokovic at one point. He lost a point. He appealed it and the appeal was turned down. He did his double bounce and he lost the next point as well. For a lot of people, that would easily be a downward spiral that they would never recover from. What really sets players of this level apart is their ability to bounce back and to regain their state quickly under the toughest of circumstances. So what can you learn from this? Well, lots of things actually, but I'm only going to talk about one of them because I know you can figure out lots of learnings for yourself. But when you're in your default state, what is that like and how do you recognise it? Let's start with your voice. How loud is your voice? What volume are you speaking at? How quickly or slowly are you speaking? And what's the tone of your voice sound like? Not just your voice though, how are you using your body? What are your shoulders like? And what's it feel like from the inside? Is there a knot in your stomach? Do you feel relaxed? Where are you looking? Are you looking down or looking up? As the more ways that you have of recognising your state, the more you're going to notice when you deviate from it, either because you've hijacked yourself from the inside or because something's hijacked you from the outside. The more that you're aware of when your state changes, the more that you're able to do something about it and get yourself back into a good state and recover quickly. I have a little audio clip that I often play at training sessions. It's a clip of Tony Robbins talking at a seminar, and he says, "If you were to ask me, Tony, before you tell me anything else, what is the most important tool for affecting the quality of my life forever and above anything else?" And my first hands down answer would be the ability to manage your state. Do you agree with him? I do.